I'm Bailey and I'm a clairvoyant psychic medium and spiritual healer based in New Zealand. Welcome. So I thought after doing the domination and control video that I would do a video on how to help yourself if you're feeling spiritually immature or you feel like you're responding from a place of immaturity but you don't know how to change it, or you've seen some behaviors in yourself and you're like, come on, we can do better than that, but you don't know how to figure it out. There's no point in me blabbing on about spiritual immaturity and then not saying how you can help yourself. I do know though that some people do need to experience it themselves and have some type of harsh awakenings to the real world reality and how you need to behave in it per se. Okay, so this video is probably geared more towards people who actually want to help themselves and want to make informed, practical decisions to move more into spiritual maturity or more into soul empowerment and connecting into the soul. Because what can happen is that we're actually more connected into trauma or the ego self and not the soul. They are two very, very different things. And because we can experience many, many different things in the earthly realm, we can get disconnected from the soul. From the inner feminine if you're a woman and the inner masculine if you're a man. And you could be in a female body and feel more comfortable being masculine. So maybe that is a polarity that you need to work with more. It doesn't, not all women resonate with that feminine energy, but there are women who are feminine, but they don't know how to cultivate that feminine energy within them. That's to do with your soul. They want to know more about the feminine. So that's your soul being like, hey, we need to connect more into the feminine energy and who we are. Whereas other women are maybe more comfortable and confident being a little bit more masculine and a little bit more dominant, and that's who they are in the soul. So it can go either way, but I do know that some women who look and act masculine, they want to know the feminine, but they don't know how. Okay, so what was I going to say? So with spiritual immaturity, it's more so to do with the fact, and I think it's a lot to do with taking responsibility and moving into that mature feminine energy. And I call it the inner mother energy that tells you, that's not a good idea. We need to go and do X, Y, Z and sort out our finances before we go party. You know what I mean? It's the inner responsible mother that's like, I need to take care of myself. And this is where womb healing can really help you ground in the divine feminine, and working with the womb space. Because it really clears out density and immaturity and also your own mother's energy that could be wreaking havoc in your energy body. Okay, so spiritual immaturity it's almost like it's that state where you blame everything outside of you for how your life is going. And you're in a very limited state of being. And you believe that it's sort of like not focusing on yourself, and it's about focusing on other people and how other people are making you feel, instead of connecting into the inner and thinking, why am I feeling like this and where is this behavior stemming from? So that's self-responsibility, like why am I acting like this? Why am I treating people like this? Why can't I stop it? And realizing, so there's a really big difference there in people who realize they need a helping hand versus people who don't think it's their fault or their issue to sort out their own energies and that it's everyone else's fault. So I'd say my work is more geared towards people who do want to help themselves. There's a very big difference there and whatnot. So as I said, my services are only really open to people who actually want to help themselves. Otherwise, it's not going to work, because as someone as a healer, it's not my job or my role to do things for you. And that's where immaturity lies, and that other people want people to do things for them. Whereas a healer is more so like a helping hand, or sort of like a spirit, like a spirit mother. That's how I view. When I was going through a lot myself, I would go and visit this healer in Wellington, that I got guided to, and she was sort of like my spirit mother in a way, or like the spirit guide that I needed in the earthly realm. So that's how I view a spiritual healer, or going to see a medical medium or whatnot, especially to do with the realms of the emotions and the soul, is that you need someone a little bit more mature and a little bit more grounded to help you understand what's going on within you. And the healer that I would go and see, and the psychic, she had that very maternal, loving, healing energy. It's that nurturing feminine energy, that energy that you get in front of, and everything just goes up, and then you just cry out your heart, and then you get your guidance type of thing, and what you need for your soul and what's happening and whatnot. And that you need more mature women on the earth who can help you understand the soul in that way. Yeah, okay, so first and foremost, if you are aware that you are acting childish or immature, or you're in your 30s or your 40s and you can't figure out why you're not feeling confident, or you're not feeling, why aren't I onto it more, or why am I still playing out these juvenile tendencies, why am I still dressing like a teen, or why am I still doing X, Y, Z online, like why can't I stop this? And it's because sometimes what happens through, and I'll focus on this lifetime, and so sometimes it's not wise to go too much back into past lives, because, and usually I bring up past lives and I'm guided to do so, because sometimes going too much into your past lives, you can't focus on this life. But it can be very beneficial to go back into past lives and figure out why you're doing something as well on the soul level. But mostly you want to focus on what happened in this one, because cosmos is opening up and there's a lot of energies that are changing. So a lot of people are feeling like, oh, I don't want to do the same stuff anymore, but I don't know where to begin or what to do or whatnot. I'm sick of playing out the same patterning. I don't want to do this job. This isn't fulfilling for me. It's no fun. It's not creative. It's not who I am. That type of feeling. And so when you start asking yourself, who am I? Your soul's like, hey, we need to do things that we actually want to do. Because believe it or not, a lot of people aren't doing things that their soul wants to do. And that's a little bit of trauma as well. And that's when you get really unhappy and you feel really flat, and you don't feel excited and passionate about what you're doing because your soul's not in it. You know, there's that saying, your soul's not in it. Oh, this is some dark Ghana chocolate on my elbow. Typical. Yeah, so basically what you want to look at is your inner child. If there is some emotional childishness, or blame and shame, or sometimes even a little bit of domination and control that could come from how you were raised in your immediate home environment. So you would want to start with inner child work. So this is where I can only speak for myself. Medical medium work can really, really help you in figuring out why you're responding the way you're responding and why you're feeling so small. Because when you feel small, that's when you're feeling really insecure and incompetent. And this is, I think, when people embody these really pushy, out there personas, but they're trying to overcompensate for how they're actually feeling within. So you have to go see, sorry, you don't have to, I would recommend you to go see a spiritual healer so they can see why you're feeling small from within. And it's really beneficial to go and see someone who can sort of mirror and guide you through that process. Sometimes it's a bit hard to try and do it all by yourself because you can get really caught in the mind, and when you go and see a spiritual healer, the energies open up, you can connect into the energies in the spiritual realms together, and it's a lot easier to just relax and let things come up and out in a spiritual healing session or medical medium session. Yeah, so inner child work is really, really handy because usually if you're feeling small and insecure, there could be stuff going on in your inner little boy or your inner little girl where you weren't supported into your full vibrancy. And you didn't have the skill set to stand up for yourself and ask for what you wanted and whatnot. And so a lot of these behaviors continue into your adulthood, where you feel like you're dominated and controlled by other people, but it was really because your inner child was dominated and controlled, especially if you've grown up in a broken home or whatnot, or a divorce, or really, really emotionally unstable parents that can really, really wreak havoc on your adulthood and your emotions and your state of mental and emotional and spiritual stability within. So sometimes what happens if you grew up in an unstable environment, you can have an unstable mind where you can't hold your energies in your body properly. So that's where inner child work really helps. Inner child work also really helps for more joy, abundance, happiness, and the joie de vivre of the spirit and the soul. So I do sometimes feel like healing the inner child is getting your je ne sais quoi back as an adult. That joyful, playful, lightful side of you. Especially with men, it's a really big thing with the inner child, because a lot of men don't also get that space to express their masculinity. Maybe they were caretakers, or they were shut down a lot. This happens a lot with the masculine spirit. You get really shut down in your child, or you end up taking on your mother's burdens. You're going to feel like you can't express your full potency as a man, as an adult, or you're going to feel repressed. And this is where I think the idea of the matrix comes in, and I'm like, you can't just blame a matrix. There's something going on within you as to why you're feeling repressed and controlled. Yes, there are energies in the astral realms that are naughty and whatnot, but you can't go blaming everything on something outside of you. If you're feeling a certain way, you've got to tune in and figure it out, because you're the one that's here in the earthly realm. You can't do anything about the astral realm, but you can do what's going on in the here and now with your spirit in the earthly realm. Common sense. Yeah, so inner child work is really amazing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a free healing technique for teens that came through from the spirit realms for me when I was going through teen healing. So now I'm going to talk about teen healing. So we've got the inner child, and then we've got teen healing. Teen healing is something that not a lot of people talk about. And it's very, very common sense, and it's one of the most empowering things that you can do, because the majority of us have not grown up or gone to high schools or had spiritual support when we moved through puberty and when our life force and our sexual awakening was beginning. So the majority of us are completely shut down spiritually in our sexual creative energies from a dormant teen sexual awakening. And if you think about it, things are very different today, I think, for the teens versus how they were. I'm in my 30s, how they were back then. And as I was moving through my own teen healing, there was my traumatized stuff, because I grew up in a very unstable, broken home, but I didn't know it. I had sort of conditioned myself to believe that everything was all right. It was not, because I couldn't cope with what was going on. And so if you are in an unstable environment and you're going through a teen awakening, you're not going to have the full potency of your masculine or feminine spirit happen. And then you're going to move into adulthood, and you're just going to be in this very watered down state of your energy. And so this is where aging comes in, and that if you are aging and you are not feeling vital and healthy in your spirit, or you feel like your life force is draining, this is where I'm like, this whole thing on testosterone goes as you age, or your feminine essence goes as you age. That's not true. That's something to do with your life force and lack of life force, and choosing and aligning with stuff that's good for your soul, because as we age, our life force isn't meant to go away on us. So there's something going on there that is not, and if you're aging and you're feeling tired or lethargic, it's probably something to do with the soul and the lack of life force. Maybe you need to move through into more of a life transition and find something more meaningful and fulfilling. Maybe you need to go to a healer and figure out why you feel your life force is drained away from you. It could be trauma, but multiple. But generally, if we were in a more healthy society, you should be doing better as you age. With life force and with the soul and the spirit, per se. So in your teens, when you don't get that sexual awakening, you're gonna, or if it's repressed, or if you were traumatized, or if you didn't like your high school. I know for myself, when I was moving through my teen healing, I had all these repressed feelings and emotions, and it turned out I was already very mature in the soul in my teens, but I was being treated like I was dumb and stupid. And I ended up getting very retaliative in my teens because I wasn't being listened to. And so this is where I think, if you're trying to dominate and control your children and doing them in teens and into childhood and whatnot, it's going to come back on you. Because you can't, when you're moving into your teens, you're moving more into self-autonomy. And if you're not given that space to become more of who you are, you're going to feel it in the spirit, and you're going to say, hey. And it's usually the ego of the parents that can't let that domination and control go, and so it sort of backfires on them. It's very interesting. But teen healing is connecting into part of your soul, because I do feel like more of your soul comes in online in puberty. We just don't know it. And this is when the chakras start to open a little more. This is when we start to get a little bit more bigger in our auras. We want to separate off from our parents. We want to figure out who we are and whatnot. When we're not allowed to do that, I think that's when we get some retaliation and teen rebellion. And it's like, but I'm just, and it just depends if you went, like I went to an all-girls private high school. I had to wear a uniform, a very strict uniform, and we had like chapel and stuff. But I never got given that space to figure out who I was. So, and then I hit my 30s, and then I started going through teen healing guided by the spirit realms. And I was like, oh my God, my soul was here the whole time. I was just traumatized. So teen healing can be real, and you can, if you do teen healing, you can figure out more of who you are in the soul. And that's, I think, when we try on these personas in our adulthood, they're not really who we are and what we should be doing, because we don't really quite know who we are. And so in your adulthood, if you're just constantly trying to reinvent yourself or put on different personas, you don't have that spiritual stability within to know what you like and don't like. You're trying to figure something out, and that's when you get copycats or people sort of copying each other because they don't have that spiritual stability or maturity within. So teen healing can help you mature yourself. I'll talk a little about what happened to me. And as I was moving through the exercises that I had received, I realized that if more of my soul was embodied, or if I was listening to my soul, I would have moved out a long time ago and not looked back. I did not grow up in an environment that was very supportive, and I was used as a punching bag often for a very unhappy family dynamic and relationship dynamic, and I was scapegoated for it and sort of made responsible for it, and I had a really, really horrible time, and all these feelings came up that I had repressed, and then I had to go through. I think if other people have gone through teen healing, you know what I'm talking about. You have to go through all the, darn, you did this to me, and you have to release out all these repressed emotions, and then you can settle back down in your spirit and feel better in the body. So when I see adults who sort of retaliate and, it's your fault, I'm like, okay, you're still caught in your teens, you're still caught in your teens somewhere. If you just think about some of the high schools that is, it's very, you have to go do this subject, you have to go do this, you have to go do that. And it's like, and I had all these memories come back of how I disliked high school so much. And the only ones I really enjoyed, like the one that I loved the most, was design technology, which was sewing and design. So I did sewing for like 5 years at school, and I liked art. I could paint, but I had to adhere to the sort of like the rules of NCA here in New Zealand. And I look back at that, and none of them, what was the point in high school? Like I didn't even, And then I had all these feelings come back from my teens being like, I shouldn't have gone to high school. I should have gone and done some type of course, or I should have gone traveling. But that wasn't really an option back then. I think things are very different now. And there was just all these things that my soul sort of knew what it wanted, but I wasn't really given the opportunity to. And that's why I think you have to be careful as an adult if you think you're being dominated and controlled. Who and what are you being dominated and controlled by? And why aren't you in charge of creating the life that you want? Because there'll be something going on in your energy body that's making you feel like you can't be a stable, mature adult and make informed decisions about where you're guiding your life force and your energy and what you would like to experience. So inner teen, I highly recommend doing some inner teen work, especially if you had any trauma like an eating disorder or whatnot. Or you're really, really unhappy in your teens, there'll be a lot of repressed emotions. When it comes to sexual energy and men in their teens, this is where you will get a lot of virility and your passion and power back. There's a lot of masculine fire that opens up in your teens, and if that isn't harnessed and opened up properly and supported, you're not going to be operating at your full masculine potency in adulthood. So teen healing can be really amazing, and also emotional healing and connecting into the soul. This is why I don't like spiritual community, because everything's just been very glorified and glamorized, and stuff like money goddesses and stuff like, that's not applicable to the real everyday world and what's happening for unique individuals, and it's just so out of touch and disconnected from being a person in the body, and I just don't understand it, and I don't want anything to do with people like that. But emotional healing can help you mature and ground yourself. So that's when you are able to connect into the soul feeling and not the personality that's covering up how you actually think you're meant to be feeling. So I see this a lot in spirituality when people are like, they're sort of denying the true feelings of things, and they're saying things like Buddhist quotes and, well, that's a you issue, that's not a me, and if someone was just expressing a different opinion, oh, you're attacking me, no, this person was just expressing a different idea to you. Like, there's a lot of icky stuff that's happening there that I don't want anything to do with. But the soul is there, and we, as I said, we can lose connection to the soul. And in medical medium work, we're trying to figure out how it is you're actually feeling about stuff and why you feel like you can't express that from the soul. And it is so empowering. I've seen how empowering this is for women and the feminine energy as well, and listening to the feminine intuition and essence. And also with men, and honoring what that masculine spirit is telling you. For example, as I was moving through some teen healing with a client, we discovered that a certain female really effed him off, and he wasn't being honest about how he was feeling about this female. So I said, you've got to stand up and say, blah, 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 really irritated the crap out of me, and I didn't want it. And that was his soul speaking. So people think spirituality, but he was repressing it because he thought that he couldn't say it, because he had to be nice and blah, blah, blah. But then as soon as he admitted it, you could see the power return, because he was honoring what his soul was thinking and feeling and saying. So it's about authenticity of the soul and experience things in the earthly realm. For example, I hate maroon. Oh, but yeah, I don't care. My soul doesn't like maroon. And I hate black. I hate black and I don't like it. I like pink. I like pink and green, and I like Venus statues, and I like fairies. And then, so for someone else in the soul, maybe they love high-rise apartments and they want to live in a high-rise. Maybe they want the Gucci sunglasses. It doesn't mean you're not being spiritual. It means you're honoring what you actually want. But you've got to be careful there, because it could be the personality, not the actual soul wants and desires. So there's a big, the soul wants and desires. That's what we want to get to in medical medium and healing sessions. And that will help mature yourself and listen to yourself and ground and stabilize yourself, because you can trust what you're feeling and what you feel you're wanting from within. So it's very, very empowering, and it gives you an incredible amount of stability and confidence in listening to yourself. And so same with auric work and getting to know your auric and your aura boundaries, and what you do and don't want energetically in your life. And then you can sort of say no to energies that are not really in alignment with where you feel you're going in the soul. For example, what example can I give? I had someone come up to me and say, hey, XYZ, I'm going to do this and this for you. I'm going to take you. And I said, no, you're not. Because my soul knew that everything was fine and that this person was trying to interfere. So, no, you're not going to do that. No, I don't need that. And so you're able to discern what's right for your life versus others' wants and needs for your life, and it's very stabilizing and maturing. Okay, I tried to make that really practical and common sense about the soul. I talked about the inner child, the inner teen, and am I gonna give the free healing technique? No, I'm not. Maybe I will do that in another video. It doesn't feel right now. But I hope that helps in understanding what medical medium work and healing work can help with maturity and stability and groundedness within the spirit and the earthly realm. And so that helps you not get so overcome with outrageous emotion. You can start having fun in the body. You're not dictated and dominated by your out of control emotions. This is where spiritual healing can be really helpful. Usually that's a state of trauma. If you're constantly reactive and trying to bully other people, that sounds like trauma. And it's very important to remember that everyone expresses their soul differently. And you cannot just sort of put the personality of spirituality over people. And I'd be very mindful of people who have to try and convince you of their spirituality by creating a spiritual personality. They're probably not actually rooted in who they are as a person and a soul, and they are believing that spirituality is some type of personality. And I do question when I see people like that, what they're doing behind the scenes, and if they are stable from within and doing fulfilling hobbies. If they talk like that all the time behind closed doors, which I'm guessing they probably don't. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that was helpful.